Welcome to a seat
at the table.
Oh, that worked.
Yeah, that flowed.
I think we've got to do it again because I turned around and said that works.
Yeah. Welcome
to a seat
at the table.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Gary. Do you want to? Let me just get you to introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Gary Mark. I'm a contemporary sculptor. I'm based in London and making works all over.
Making works all over, and it's seriously magical because, as I've mentioned, this whole space I've curated and created pieces, furniture pieces to complement your work.
Yes.
Because you've said that your work is about using and recycling materials that are put to waste.
Yes.
So all these fabric pieces that you'll see around the exhibition, it's uncut fabric.
Yes.
So that we can reuse them into some clothing or some other furniture pieces or accessories.
Yes.
So the whole purpose is everything is sustainable. And why did you start with your work being sustainable materials? And
I think the reason why it was like a calling. I mean, like I said, I grew up in a time where you didn't really throw away anything. You just you either made it yourself or you mended it. So if you've got that mindset, I mean, one of the phrases that my aunt used to say, and I always use it, nothing to be wasted. So if you can go from that kind of mindset, nothing to be wasted, you don't waste. You try and keep using, keep going with that, that story, and keep pushing it, and just keep repairing it, and adapting it, and it just never ends. I mean, why should it?
I love that mentality because I think it's coming back now, especially with the pandemic and what's been happening, that people are respecting handmade pieces and respecting reusing what we have, because we are having a serious climate issue as well.
We are indeed, and that's been at the forefront of my mind for a long time. People are going craft-based, they're going back to making, actually going back to using their hands, using their imaginations even more. People that have even known that people start playing musical instruments. Have never done that before, so it's very important to keep progressing with materials and just your imagination. Why not use your imagination? We've got the time, why don't we do that?
And what's your biggest inspiration for? Are these all pieces that we have here from one inspiration, or is it several things that have come to?
I think they're very different pieces. I mean, what comes to me it's material led. So once I find a piece of material, and I mean find a piece of material, I get inspired from that. So I'm actually an artist that's led by the material to give me inspiration to develop it and produce a piece of art that's unique in its own right.
When did you get started, and what was your biggest inspiration to start creating sculpture?
I grew up in a family where we were creative, but it was one of those things that it wasn't pushed out there. I grew up in the Midlands, and the job was the thing to have. But we all could create, between fashion and making was part of that. But being in London, it started with, I want to say the story, it started with a bar of soap. So one day I was sitting in an office, I was talking to a co-worker of mine, and it wasn't creative at all, the job. And I was just messing around with a bar of soap. I think I had a little knife and I carved a dragon. And I didn't know what I was doing, I just carved a dragon. It was very stylized, very contemporary at the time. And he liked it, and I carved something else. And then my manager saw it, and not long after that, they gave me a studio, and I was teaching kids. But I wasn't practicing. I didn't really do any art, but it led to now I'm an artist.
You are indeed an incredible artist, because your artwork inspired me to be able to curate this space for you. And exactly what you've done with every single piece has so much story to it.
Yes.
And you said something about energy.
Yes.
And do you want to experience the energy of the work?
Well, what I would say about the pieces themselves, if you break it down to the trees have their own energy, their life force of their own at such points. And I believe that when you touch the material, you work with the material, it gives you an energy so you can actually develop and pull out an image from that energy. You get a sense of, I can produce this, I've made it that way. Even with the stone, it's the same thing. There's some form or sense of energy that I get through creating the works, and it develops when I'm working. So, one of the things that I like to do is not have an idea of what I'm making, so I just go into it. So it's one of those, my background is architectural stone carving, what I studied, but to go back with the energy, it produces work like this. I mean, they're not sketched, they just come out naturally. I have an idea, it formulates, and the story, the narrative comes from that.
That's incredible. That is amazing. I think that's what you get the most out of if you look at a material and it tells you what you need to give to it.
Yes.
Oh god, yeah. I keep looking around because there's so many beautiful pieces all around us. And what was your backstory to your education? Because you said you did fashion and...
Yeah, I did fashion. I've done quite a few things, to be honest with you. It's one of those things in life I try to experience as much as I can experience. So when I came to London, it was because of fashion. And I've had many jobs in many different fields. But one thing about all of that is I always learn something from a job. It could be a simple thing, how to use a tool, how to just work and open my mind and be in a different space, So one of the things that I learned was I was a tree surgeon. So I didn't really like the idea of becoming a tree surgeon because I didn't like cut down trees. But there's always, like I say, there's always this material everywhere. So, but later on in life, I went and studied historic architectural stone carving. So I can produce works that can go on buildings, which I have done. So the piece that's known best is the piece at Windsor Castle, St. George's Chapel. So I have a piece called the Earth Mother, which is situated at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle.
Amazing, that is incredible. Did you say Earth Mother?
Earth Mother, yes.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've seen it, I just haven't. It's your piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back now. Windsor Castle.
It's Windsor Castle and it's St. George's Chapel. It's on the main facade. It's right there. You'll see it as you walk past.
Congratulations for that. That's incredible to have in Windsor Castle. So, what is the biggest achievement for you?
Biggest achievement. I don't look at it as a single piece. I think the idea around progression of keep going, producing, making, discovering, I think that's the biggest achievement. And also connecting with others, because I like the idea of connecting with others, and I've done many workshops over the years. And I think for me to work with younger people, older people, anyone that can learn and they can go on their own journey and develop themselves. I think that's the biggest achievement, not a single sculpture. Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's something that keeps you going to create.
It does, and I really enjoy it, to be honest with you. It's something that I enjoy doing. So every day you wake up, you have an idea. Why not? Every day, there's not enough time in a day. It really isn't.
It is difficult for a creative to fit in the time, because I don't know about you, I get about thousands of ideas in my head about, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Even just this, I was messaging T several times saying, oh, I can do this and this. You said you moved here for fashion, to study fashion. So where were you originally raised?
I was raised in, I normally say it like this, I was raised in Mercia. But I was raised in Birmingham, in real industrial town. Birmingham was known for its, I think it's 1,000 trades. And most of the people that I grew up around, their parents, They all worked, there's a trade, like my father had a trade, my mother was a nurse, so it's like I grew up in a different place altogether. And one of the things that I realised about London when I came here when I was 17, 18, how different it was. Just walking around, I think you don't realise if you grow up in this city, that other cities are very different. Even the light is very different, the buildings are very different, the architecture is very different, and it's just a different place. But it's very nice. It was very nice. I grew up in a nice environment. Yeah.
And what about your cultural roots? Where do they come from?
My cultural roots, my mother and father are from the same place, Jamaica, and they went to school together. So, and they both ended up in Birmingham and later on in life. So,
does your artwork have a lot of influence from your parents' heritage?
I would say yes, because I was told lots of stories, and when I was a child, I'd think about the colours. One of the things is the colours. When you grew up in the UK, especially back then, it was very grey. Most things were very grey. So the stories, the colours, the fabrics, even food. You just put that. It goes in there somewhere. It's in the back of your mind, and that's all a part of it. It comes through the work. It comes out. And I think also it's not just where my parents are from. I believe, I do believe that it's more spiritual than that. The story goes further back than that. So that's what I believe.
I think you used the perfect word earlier when you were speaking to someone about DNA. It is within your DNA.
It is within your DNA, and I think that's very true. It's in there. It's within your DNA. And it goes back.
Yeah, I found that really powerful because I thought about DNA as in what you inherit and how you perceive things. Like the lady was saying, oh, this is from England, the wood is from England, but it doesn't look like it's from England.
Yes.
And I found that really fascinating that you can tell that someone who is rich with culture is able to implement another viewpoint of something that someone may say, well, this doesn't look like it's from England, but well, actually it is.
It is.
It's my way of my England.
It is, and that's exactly. It's my interpretation. It's my England. It's my background. But then again, like we say, it's in the DNA. So that's the bit we don't know, but it's within. It's like within the mind. Like to be able to create. But it's. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. I totally agree with that.
No, it really sparked a moment when you said DNA, and I was like, well, I picked up a lot of things when you were having a conversation. Okay. I was like, energy, DNA, the words that you were using, they're very connecting and very powerful, and it shows where your backstory of your inspiration implements within your work. I'm going to ask you one last question. If there's loads of people that are trying to go into the art industry and sculpture specifically, I believe, or what I've seen within the art world, being in an affluent space, there is a specific race. And do you think that there is enough people of color, people able to come into this fortunate space which is seen as expensive?
Well, okay. That's a very good question because I was at that point. Yeah. So to answer the question, first of all, I would say absolutely. If you want to do it, go for it. It is expensive. It's an expensive field to be in. I personally went through education later on in life, and I wanted to develop my ideas. But I would say, look, why not try? Because you never know. It's one of the phrases that I always say. You never know where you'll end up with this. If you stay focused and you're positive. Who knows? It could be funding. It could be anything. But if you've got that in you and you want to try, why not try? Why not try?
That is beautiful. I am actually going to ask you one more question.
No, you can ask as many questions as you want.
I appreciate that. Well, this is a celebration of Black History Month. What does Black History Month mean to you?
Black History Month, what does it mean to me? I think that from my perspective, I would say it's. I would say a month is not long enough.
Yes.
You know, for cultural input and history that's gone into it, and the history, you know, the present history through culture, music, identity. I mean, culture is vast. It's a celebration, but I'd say it's a celebration that can be extended, or it can be looked at a bit more, but it's a start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I laughed because I knew what you were going to say. Because I had the same viewpoint, and for me, again, I was saying in terms of corporations, thank you, well done. It's appreciated that you celebrate for a month, but I think it's important for you to acknowledge the rest of the year that lack exists, or you know, culture exists, and diversity, inclusion, and intersectionality is very important. And with the current climate, I think the voices are being heard, but I hope that corporations use it as a positive outlook rather than a tokenism.
Exactly.
Value.
Exactly. I totally agree with you there. I totally agree with you. And we will see. I mean, we don't know. Next year is next year. This month is not over yet. But I think it's good that people can actually showcase their works, showcase a bit of themselves, a bit of black culture. I think that's important. But like I say, it could go a lot further. And I think it should.
We're in process.
Yeah.
Process. But yeah, I just wanted to finish it off and say thank you so much for your artwork, because like I said again, it inspired me to create all of these pieces to complement you. Because everything that I put into here is an inspiration of what you've created. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. No, but really, thank you. You know.